All right, welcome to the poetry vlog. We have our special pop culture and Patrick.
We're back.
We're back. We're doing Robyn's new release single, right? Missing You.
Yep. The new song. Missing You came out just how long ago? Like 2 weeks ago.
Something like that.
2 weeks.
It was one of those like viral like internet releases as well, right?
Yeah.
Where it was like the internet release of it.
Yeah, because she said it was a Friday, and she said, "Don't worry, guys, it's been 8 years, but I'm releasing a new song on Monday." Turned out the new song was actually like this 7-minute YouTube video, which was just like a 7-minute preview for a 5-minute song, which is weird enough. But then that Wednesday was when the song actually came out.
Yep.
It's called Missing You. We've been missing her for the last 10 years. It was in 2010 when she released Body Talk Part 1, 2, and 3. And then the full-length album, Body Talk, which was basically like a greatest hits of the song she already released in 2010.
So like example songs that people might be more familiar with.
So that's where Call Your Girlfriend.
Which is like the Call Your Girlfriend.
Yep. Yeah. It's Dancing on My Own.
Keep dancing on my... Yeah.
Exactly. She did None of Them with Roy Xopp from Norway. She did that one with Snoop Dogg.
I forgot about that.
Oh yeah. That was okay.
And she's basically like, you always find yourself dancing.
Yeah. So what's incredible about Robyn is many things, but one of the best things about her is there's always this sort of like sadness and emptiness to her music. So Dancing on My Own is this like perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Because it is like, someone told me you got a new friend, and like, I'm over here in the corner dancing on my own.
In the corner.
Yeah.
Watching you kiss her.
Yep. So.
And in the club, everyone's like, oh.
Exactly. So her music already, it has this kind of like, at the bottom of her music is always like a loneliness and a despair. But she's always dancing through it. So there's this kind of like ecstasy through tragedy.
And it's not like necessarily good dancing. Which is sometimes the most empowering part about it.
Yeah.
Like in a music video, at one point, she like basically just like.
Oh yeah. Because Call Your Girlfriend is just her dancing on her own, and it's in this like weird carpet of a coat. But we're not talking about Call Your Girlfriend. We're talking about Missing You. We're talking about the new one.
Which of course everyone was like, oh my god, it's her song to her fans because like she hasn't been here and she's been missing us. But
so it's called Missing You. She's like, this is for my fans. And when you first hear it, you know, your impulse, because it's a pop song, right? It's like, oh, this is about an ex-lover. I'm missing you because we've broken up. And if that's what you need it to be about, then like, awesome. Have it be about that to you. That's what's cool about pop. It's like, it's this total cipher. You get to put yourself in the song however you want. So if it's about an ex-lover to you, awesome. But my theory for Robyn is like, yeah, maybe it's about her fans. But a couple years ago, she released this EP called Love is Free with a group called La Bagatelle Magique, and one of the members of this group, Christian Falk, was this dance music producer who passed away really suddenly just before the EP came out. And so they toured behind it a little bit, doing some of this music, but she called it off. She was like, this is just too heavy. Like, I made this music with my friend and now he's gone. So it's hard to hear a song like Missing You and not hear that story in the background as well. So there is, it's all about emptiness. It's all about these empty spaces, whether that space was left by Robyn herself in your life because you've been missing her for the last 8 years, right? Like, we survived, guys. We made it 8 years without a new Robyn song.
I think I posted a Golden Girls meme and a Robyn meme, right? And they were like opposites, but they both fit. Exactly.
So we survived it. We were missing her. She was perhaps missing her friend who passed away. Maybe you're missing the guy that you had to leave or that left you. But it's all about this absence,
right?
So and
it's song, also like a slightly critical absence. I think.
Same one.
Right? Because, like, there's this empty space you left behind. Now you're not here with me, as you expect. But then I keep digging through our waste of time. It's like, what was the waste of time exactly?
Yeah.
you know? I think there's, like, a little bit of potential shade that actually is part of why people read into it as, like, potential ex-lover.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, I keep digging through our waste of time. It's like time we wasted together could be one reading, right? In a good way. Like, killing time is, like, chilling, right? Or it could be, like, it was, like, a waste of time, and I'm doing this, like, autopsy is what we always call it.
Yeah.
Conversations.
Right.
Of, like, what is there, right? And it's like keep digging through this memory, but the picture is incomplete. So no amount of digging is actually producing it, and you end up just missing the person.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little shade potentially.
Totally.
Like it could be read that way.
And that's what's so interesting, I think, about this song.
That's what makes it good.
Yeah, and she's shuffling through her interpretation of the relationship as well. Like her interpretation of this person that she's missing. That's shifting and it's changing. Because it's all about the gap. It's all about the
totally dancing.
Like I know it's hard. So what I want to talk about is I want to talk about the song itself is really simple. It's built on 2 chords, like a lot of the best dance music is. It just alternates between these 2 chords from beginning to end. Easy enough. It has this the tempo is, if you listen to it on headphones, you will find yourself walking at this tempo.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
Yep.
It's that like
it lines up with your bodily rhythms in this like really intense way, and you can't help it. You are just stomping down the street.
Yeah.
Missing whoever you gotta miss.
Yeah.
And the song is pretty simple components that go into it. There's this like twinkling thing that happens at the beginning.
You call it twinkling.
I don't know
if you haven't yet, pause us.
Yeah.
And I'll link down, but like listen to the song first, so that you know what we're talking about when we start talking.
Because I think this idea of twinkling and shimmering is really important to like my reading on the poem, because like I brought books. Like we have things to talk about today.
Oh my gosh.
We have things.
You brought multiple Anne Carsons.
I brought 2 Anne Carsons and a Cole Swenson because I'm interested in this this empty space. So the chorus is, there's this empty space you left behind. Now you're not here with me. I keep digging through our waste of time, but the picture's incomplete. And then she gets to the chorus. Yeah. So that's it's all about the empty space.
Right.
And the song is built on these empty spaces.
Right. I follow the traces.
Yeah.
Slick washed up on the beach. Right. Finding clues in the pockets and opening boxes.
Yeah.
But there's never like a thing that's grabbed, right?
Yep. So we're entering all these empty spaces, and the music itself occupies a lot of empty spaces as well. You go through the first verse. Baby, it's so real to me, now it's over. You have her voice, pretty, unaccompanied, undoubled, just her singing. But then you get to that first chorus where we get the empty space you left behind, and we get 2 things that are doubled. So first we get her voice that's doubled. She doubles herself. She harmonizes herself. Right. And it's spread pretty far. When you listen to it on headphones, you can actually really hear her voice on
it's
the
like
left.
A shadow.
Yeah, and then you hear her harmony on the right. And if you listen a little bit closer, you can hear the hi-hats. You get that drum beat that shows up.
Explain to them what the hi-hat is.
So the hi-hat's that cymbal.
I saw this called hi-hat.
It's like that one.
Yep.
So you hear it in the chorus, and it's a very disco-y sound. Like you hear hi-hat and a lot of disco like that. But if you listen really close, you'll hear 2 hi-hats going on. You'll hear one in your left that is live, that is a real instrument, a real drum set being tapped on by drumsticks. But then you'll hear one on your right that is a drum machine, and you can hear the difference, because one is like tinny and sort of artificial, and the other is very real and
kind of like the harmony versus Robyn's voice.
Exactly. So this like really simple gesture of duplicating,
and it's mimicked in the music video, because the music video is just the lyrics with this like digitized representation, and they're all doubled a little bit. There's like a shadow replicate.
Yeah, they sort of like they sort of do this. They kind of pull apart. They sort of shatter a little bit, and the shattering. Okay,
I know where Anne Carson's coming in.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to stay on topic here because I have a whole thing. So anyway, we get to the chorus, and suddenly like these gaps, these empty spaces are enacted musically. It's the empty space that exists between her voice and the harmony, and the empty space that exists between the live drum and the digitized drum. Like there's an emptiness to this music, and I think the minimal elements that make it up, whether it's that twinkling sound or that doo 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 doo, or that really basic like 4 on the floor walking tempo drum beat that we have, like the song has a lot of gaps. There's a lot of emptiness to it. And the moment the real sort of like Oh, and another like moment of emptiness in that chorus. You get that synth line, do do do, like it,
Oh yeah.
it's the synth line is the exact same melody that you'll hear in the bridge when she says, "This part of you, this clock that stopped." Mm-hmm. So you're hearing the vocal melody without the vocals before the vocals ever come in.
So then the bridge becomes an echo or a sort of shadow of that, right?
Yep.
Oh, there.
So
okay.
So we get all these sort of like holes,
which lyrically is also supported by, which I have a feeling is where you're going, right? Where's the glass line?
It's all about the glass.
Yeah, it's about the glass. All right, but it's what you don't hear unless you're listening for it because of where it's placed in the song, right? Right. So we have like, because it's in one of the verses. It's not in any of the refrains or the bridge or anything. It's like kind of buried. I say buried. This is probably wrong. We're not going to go there today.
No one else says that, but hey. It's buried wherever that is.
You and Tim can have that argument with me too. If it was buried, it sounds like you're having raspberries.
Okay.
Right? Like Sam Sachs is like, my new book is berry. And I'm like the strawberry? Like, I don't know what you're getting at. Anyway, point is, it says, thinking how it could have been, I've turned all my sorrow into glass. It don't leave no shadow.
Yeah.
Which I think is also just great.
Yeah. Like that
is the song and like a...
Yeah, that's the moment, and she does a similar move in Dancing on My Own, where she'll have this sort of like, I'm in the corner, and it's got that like, and it goes on
for
like a bar and a half, and then she lands back on the chorus,
which is exactly what happens here.
Yep. So she stretches it out. She's singing this second verse. There's a slick washed up on the beach. I follow the traces. Follow clues in my pockets and opening boxes and suddenly it all starts building up. And going places we went, remember to forget, thinking how it could been. And then she gets to the big line, to the big showstopper. I've turned all my sorrow into glass. It don't leave no shadow. Yeah. And then there's this huge gap. There's this huge emptiness. And then she goes, there's this empty space. And you get the downbeat. And so she leaves this huge opening. You fall into the empty space with her. Yeah. So you fall into this empty space. She's turning all her sorrow into glass, and I'm really interested in this image of turning sorrow into glass, because glass is both, it's there and it's not there. It leaves no shadow, right?
Well, so it does leave a shadow.
Yeah, it does. It distorts the light. Absolutely.
It's exactly the type of shadow that she's recreating with her own harmonized self in the background, though. It's like a ephemeral shadow. It's not necessarily darker.
Yeah,
the shadow is actually sometimes lighter. It's based on how the light is refracting through it.
Totally. It's an emptiness. It's a gap. It's an aporia.
So explain what an aporia is.
An aporia is like a hole in the story. So it's where something. How would you define it?
Shit. Sorry, I was like, oh, I shouldn't have asked you. Now I have to. It's like a split. Like there's a sort of contradiction that does not resolve itself, and it's sort of a breaking with. Like it's not just a hole. It's like a rift hole. Like it sort of splits something open into not being like as resolvable as it would have seemed to be.
Perfect. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. We were talking about it while the camera was down. You don't know this because the first poem in my manuscript is the aporia of the performative cure for Lyme disease, and it's about all of these like parts where language is supposed to fix something, but then it can't. So it keeps falling into the aporia of it, like the sort of irresolvable rift that is difficult to place.
Yeah. So
all right, sorry. So moving on.
Oh, I love that because it's more than just like a gap. Like the gap.
That's why it's such a good word for what you're describing. Because it's not like a hole in the story on its own. There is something there. It's the moment where like something should be resolvable or there should be something there, but there's this like splitting of the logic of it.
Yeah. Splitting of the logic of it. Oh, so perfect. I'm gonna close this and go home. No, okay. So we encounter that, right? Yeah. We encounter this aporia. Turn all my sorrow into glass. It don't leave no shadow. There's so much that goes unsaid in that image, and so much that's impossible about that image. But even though it's visually impossible, it's acoustically very possible. We've been hearing it throughout the song with the way she's doubling her vocals, with the way she's doubling the hi-hat. This is, she.
And the way that images are of the lyrics, right? The word becomes two words. That's like still doubling in on itself.
Yeah. And so what I want to do is take a quick moment to put Robyn's vocabulary here in conversation with some contemporary poets. Because
this is what I'm excited about because I so know where you're going with this.
So there are two poets. There are two poets that I want to talk about. One is Anne Carson and the other is Cole Swenson, both of whom are incredible incredible poets in that they trouble these distinctions between poetry and prose in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
If I have time, I'll read from The Glass Essay by Anne Carson, but right now I'm going to read the first section of The Beauty of the Husband, which she calls a fictional essay.
In 29 tangos.
In 29 tangos.
What is that?
So not only is it a book of poetry.
I love how you have like a legit old school hardcover
right,
version of this book.
It's from the library.
Yeah.
So not only is it a book of poetry, but they're poems that she calls fictional essays in 29 tangos. There are, of course.
So what is it?
yeah, and there are of course 31 sections to the book. So
right.
Yeah, but this is the first section.
She's the queen of the Aporias.
Yeah, and she this book, just like The Glass Essay, use glass as an image and all of its baggage to interrogate heartbreak. Something that I think a lot of poets shy away from because it is so cliche. It's the stuff of pop music, right? And if pop musicians are doing it, why should the poets be doing it? And I think what's so amazing about Anne Carson is she goes there and she says, heartbreak is like a terribly mundane thing that we've all endured and that we can all relate to, and that it's really difficult to speak about without cliche.
Yeah.
And she says I'm still going there.
It's hard to describe because it's so hard to get to the particular experience of it when you have so many representations around you that you're told is your experience of it.
Yeah.
So to be able to I was going to say burrow in, but I'm like, man, I'm pronouncing that wrong too. To be able to dig into the particular experience of it is actually, it's another example of what makes it more relatable and meaningful and impactful.
Totally.
But it's harder to get to because it's so overrepresented that you're constantly told that you should experience through this thing.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why she's so amazing at doing it, because it's so hard to do.
Yeah. And she'll do it in shapes and forms that push against what poems are supposed to look like. I think that's why we find so few poems about heartbreak, is because it's difficult to write a sonnet about your boyfriend leaving you. However, to write an essay that is a poem that's about glass and about 1,000 other things.
And is a tango.
About you
Tango
and your
totally
husband,
makes sense to me.
Your marriage failing. Then it can work.
Can you read a section for us?
Yeah, so this is the first section of The Beauty of the Husband. It's one of the shortest.
Can you show them what it looks like?
Yeah, it looks like this. Can you see it?
Oh, the light's weird. You guys get the idea.
So every tango is prefaced by an excerpt of Keats.
I forgot about that.
A lot of the Keats is just taken from early drafts.
Can I read the Keats?
Unfinished poems, yeah.
All right, so this one is from The Jealousies of Fairy Tale, right? More about reasons for her sorrow, as appears in the famed memoirs of 1,000 years, written by Duchamp. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with that. And then we get
That's
section
exactly
one.
Hilarious.
Section
like,
one. And here's the title of section 1. I dedicate this book to Keats, or is it you who told me Keats was a doctor? On grounds that a dedication has to be flawed if a book is to remain free, and for his general surrender to beauty.
That's the title. And
Keats, if you know nothing about Keats, know one thing. He wrote, truth is beauty, and beauty truth. That is all you need to know. So, beauty, truth, beauty. That's Keats. That's Keats in a nutshell. So the beauty of the husband, it's hard not to read now as the truth of the husband.
Yeah.
And in a book that's about trying to figure out what actually happened, why the husband was such a bad guy and what he was doing with these mistresses.
Which harkens back to the metaphor of the glass and finding the shadow, but there's no shadow. This sort of doubling all the time of trying to figure that out.
Yep. So here's the first section. A wound gives off its own light, surgeons say. If all the lamps in the house were turned out, you could dress this wound by what shines from it. Fair reader, I offer merely an analogy. A delay. Quote, use delay instead of picture or painting, a delay in glass, as you would say a poem in prose or a spittoon in silver. End quote. So Duchamp, of The Bride Stripped Bare by Her Bachelors, which broke in 8 pieces in transit from the Brooklyn Museum to Connecticut, 1912. What is being delayed? Marriage, I guess. That swaying place, as my husband called it. Look how the word shines. So if you have the time, Google image search "The Bride Stripped Bare by Her Bachelor's Even" or "Large Glass" by Marcel Duchamp. It's a great big sculpture that was made of glass that was shipped to the museum in 1912, and it broke in transit. And he said, "Now it's finished." When he saw that it had broken.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sexism.
Like that's a whole nother vlog that I'm ill-equipped to talk about. But this idea, like Duchamp building this thing out of glass, and it's less about what you see. He's saying it's about the delay in what you see. It's about your vision sort of slowing down as it's moved through this glass. It casts no shadow, but it does sort of like you see through it. It doesn't stop your vision, but it slows it down. It delays it. I think that's a really interesting way to think about glass. An interesting way to think about seeing. But again, we have that sort of like impossibility going on. So glass for Anne Carson becomes this sort of space of delay, of impossibility, of rupture, of aporia.
But also of like extreme violence. Like when you make a sculpture of a person that's made of glass, you're refusing to see that person.
Well, have you seen it? Have you seen this piece?
I've seen like photos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because you can't. The Bride Stripped Bare by Her Bachelor's Even, or Large Glass, is a title that has very little to do with what you're actually seeing. It's very abstract. It's a bunch of panes of glass laid on top of each other.
But I think that's what's so violent about it, right? That it's like you're naming this thing as a thing, and then you make it into an abstract thing that you see through. It's like the person of the bride gets so many times removed into this like abstract representation that can't leave a full shadow, is easily shattered. You can't see her or it, even if you were to recognize the outline of the glass, because it's an abstract piece. Like there's so many layers of removal of existing as like your own. So I feel like that's part of what makes it so like entrancing, because it's gorgeous, but like I almost like a but also violent, and it's sort of like refusal to see. You know, and it's sort of then it's like a way of like, it's like abstract art enacting the type of violence described in the title. Yeah.
Right? And the fact that it breaks and he says, "Now it's finished."
Right.
That's like, and he's like, he's the champ of the trace. You know, like Duchamp is all about that trace that's left behind. And how the trace is sort of a signifier for what was there. Which
is also in the lyrics to the song, right? Like there's the part where she's talking about the traces on the beach, is it?
Yeah, there's a slick washed up on the beach.
I follow the traces, finding clues in my pockets, opening boxes. So there's this like reenactment of the piece, which is also reenacted by Anne Carson.
Yeah.
So we're also seeing this event of like her missing. Right. We're experiencing it through these different layers of glass medium.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so I love like the broken glass as a trace of violence, because you it signifies violence in some sense. You know that some sort of violence was enacted. Right. But what happened, how this glass broke, you don't know.
And
all
how
you
do
have
you
is
trace it when there's like
Yeah.
It's such a hard substance.
Yeah. Well, it's like, and my favorite kind of trace that Duchamp worked in is shadows, because he would create these paintings and then sort of shine lights at them with objects in front of it. And so he would cast shadows onto his works of art. And so those shadows, like the shattered glass, is another kind of trace. And it's difficult to not hear glass, shadow, and glass shatter when you hear a song like Robyn's. And so it's that trace, it's that emptiness, it's the aporia. There's some sort of rupture, something has happened here. Yeah. We're never fully going to get access to it. Yeah. We're never going to see it. But she can slow down our vision and slow down our hearing so that we comprehend it. And
even like the way the lyrics sort of shimmer in the songs, so that it's like you're constantly looking at a refraction.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it's like it brings attention to how like ephemeral or like temporary, basically, and fleeting and difficult to grasp these sort of memories are.
Yeah.
For me, at least, because I was like, oh, it's like when you're looking at the shadow of glass, which is sometimes also brighter than the glass, right? Depending on how the light moves through it. Yeah. You are so aware that it's so dependent on how light is hitting in that moment. and how it's in relation to where you're standing.
Yes.
So you can give like so many interpretations of this song, so many interpretations to Duchamp's work, because it's a constant reminder of position.
Yeah.
Right, and how it influences your ability to perceive it at all.
Yeah. And what kind of glass are we talking about here? Are we talking about windows? Are we talking about stained glass?
Right.
Are we talking about glass figurines?
Are we talking about Derrida's trace?
Yeah, yeah. Like there's a lot.
Yeah.
And so what I want to read, because we're running out of time.
Yeah, we are.
Is this is a section from a book called The Glass Age by Cole Swenson. This is not about heartbreak. This is very much about glass, like in a literal sense. Yeah. She's interested in glass, and that's why it's so interesting. But she writes a lot about this painter, late 19th, early 20th century French painter named Pierre Bonnard. And this is one section that I'll read. And this gets to an issue of embodiment that I think is important to keep in mind. Bonnard had a double fixation: saturated color and utter transparency. Not so much opposites as an imminent collision of the present until it's tangible, cracked open to reveal at its center a verb, a marrow of glass at the heart of every wall. Early windows were sometimes made of bone, scraped, shell, alabaster skull. Yeah, right. Like imagine like a window made out of like skulls that have just been shaved down to the point of being transparent.
Yeah. And gosh, now I have so many things I want to say about that, and I'm like sad.
I know, but I think like that poem raises way more questions than it gives answers.
But I also think I'm gonna be like, on my analysis now of glass and the violence and the genderedness of it, is it like it's much more even so to the point of this way that you shave down who the person is until you see through it. In the same way, if we're going to make Robyn's song about a relationship, you might shave down the relationship. Yeah. And it's a sort of violence, and we're to see through it and try to capture it and understand it. Right?
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. And on that, we just had therapy note. We are so out of time.
All right. So do you have any final comments? Anything to say?
Next time, can we talk about...
Next time we can talk about Anne Carson's other book about glass, Irony, and
Autobiography of Red.
Okay, yeah. Do we want to talk about Anne Carson, or do we want to talk about the new Ariana Grande?
We'll do the new Ariana Grande.
Okay, I mean, if
That's
you're gonna...
We'll eventually get to Anne Carson in my vlog, whether or not it's in the pop culture section, so we will let that go. Okay. Ariana Grande, because she's also like... Yeah, we gotta talk about... You're right.
This new one,
Ariana
Sweetener.
Grande,
yeah,
right?
The new album is called Sweetener. It's out.
Good.
Yeah, it's... She's a sneaky one.
She's clever.
You don't expect her to be clever.
She's brilliant.
Yeah, because she seems so... I don't know. To me, I didn't...
Explain that more, Patrick.
I don't know. Her voice has never struck me as unique. Her music has never struck me as unique. She has always been just another voice on the radio to me. But then No More Tears Left to Cry came out, and then God is a Woman came out, and then the entire album Sweetener came out yesterday, and it was just like...
I think she's super fascinating, actually, because I think she totally knows how to play the, like, this is how you see me, so I'm going to do this. Yeah. In a way that's super, super clever. But we'll talk about her next time.
So, yeah, I have thoughts on her, too. All pop music is about pop music, so she's going to be the perfect sort of meta-pop star.
She is actually, like, the perfect, especially with her SNL skit. Have you seen that?
No. Tune in next week.
We're going to do Ariana Grande because it is so good. All right. So I'm working on shortening the sign-off so that we have less time spent on it. Basically, if you follow any of the links in the description here or on the podcast edition, you'll find some variation of contacting me. Twitter, Instagram, my site, YouTube, Facebook. If you're just not sure and you're only listening to this and you're not going to actually bother to listen, if you go to chelseagermer.com, you link to all of them. There's even like handy buttons that I learned how to create. I'm proud of it. So maybe go there just to like use them so I can feel better that
use the widgets.
That I learned how to make and use widgets, which is powerful for me. I'm just digital humanitizing it up this summer. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
I think we have to call this like Pop Culture with Patrick.
Okay.
The alliteration's so good.
Yeah.
Or Patrick and Pop Culture. I'm going to let you name it, but you have to include pop culture or pop music in it.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Okay, we'll come up with a name. Next week with a name and with
Ariana
Grande.
Grande. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a lovely day.
Bye.